Welcome back to A Smarter Way to Retire, the podcast where we help you build a confident and vibrant retirement. I'm Tony Leonardi, your CFP professional from Newtown, Connecticut. And today is the 4th of July. Happy 249th birthday, America. You know, we think of the United States as one of the youngest countries in the world, but did you know that of the roughly 195 or so recognized countries today, about half of them are younger than the USA? Interesting, right? The youngest country is only 14 years old, not even old enough to drive. Anyone know what country that is? South Sudan. Formed in 2011. Many of these young countries were formed in the post-World War II decolonization wave. Even my favorite country to visit, Italy, is younger than the United States. Did you know that? Italy, as a single sovereign country, was officially unified on March 17th, 1861, when the Kingdom of Italy was proclaimed under King Victor Emmanuel II, following the Risorgimento movements. Prior to that, Italy was a group of separate kingdoms and territories controlled by Austria, the Vatican, Sicily, amongst others. Of course, the history of Italy goes back to around 750 BC, when the twin brothers Romulus and Remus were left for dead on the side of the Tiber River and raised by a wolf, as legend tells us. Either way, happy 200th birthday, USA. Next year, number 250 should be interesting. A quick garden update for those of you who know that I garden. We still seem to be a bit behind in terms of growth this year. I don't know if that's because of all the wet weather we've had over the past 18 or so weeks, but the last couple of weeks, the lettuce is doing pretty good now. In fact, we had a really big, nice salad for dinner the other night with lettuce that was just minutes old, and that was amazing. When my son Mark was home a few weeks ago, we set up a big arched trellis for our green beans and cucumbers to climb, and this week they really started to climb. They're about halfway up there. So we're looking forward to seeing if they grow all the way up and over the arch. That would be fun. Some of our tomato plants are big enough to need tying up now, and our garlic is almost ready to be harvested. Last night, in fact, I made a delicious garlic scape pesto, which I can't wait to try. Still holding out hope for our peppers, eggplant, zucchini, etc., which seem to be a little bit behind in their growth. So fingers crossed there. Now, what's happening with the markets? This past week, the financial markets were buzzing with new developments. The Federal Reserve actually hinted at a possible July rate cut. Oil prices dropped with the ceasefire holding in the Middle East, and stocks are rallying. But the economic data is still a bit mixed. So I want to talk a little bit about taxes here. There seems to be some confusion out there right now about the new tax and spending bill that's being negotiated in Congress. The Senate passed their version of the bill earlier in the week by one tie-breaking vote by the vice president. This bill is back in the House now for reconciliation and may go to the president's desk in the next day or so. The confusion I hear about the bill out there is about the tax rates, primarily. Of the stories that I've heard on the news and what I've heard people saying about the tax bill is that, well, it's either huge tax cuts or enormous tax increases. You're on one side or the other, depending on which news stations you listen to. Remember, the news is all about riling people up and generating ratings. The truth of the matter on this tax bill is this. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was signed into law in December of 2017. It lowered all tax brackets from where they were prior to 2017. So, for example, the 25% bracket was reduced to 22%. The 28% bracket down to 24%. The 33% bracket was reduced down to 32%. So every bracket saw lower taxes starting in 2018. That tax law has been in effect since 2018, all the way through both of the last two administrations. The Biden administration didn't make any changes to the tax rates. That law, which has been in place now for 9 years, is set to sunset or expire at the end of this year. If allowed to expire, the tax rates that were in effect prior to 2017 will go back into effect. So the 22% rate will go back to 25. The 32 go back to 33, etc. So extending this tax bill is not a tax cut. It's just keeping the same rates in effect that we've become used to and we've had in place since 2018. If the bill doesn't pass, rates will go back up to pre-2018 levels. So you can believe that either lower taxes or higher taxes are better for the country and better for the economy. That's your prerogative. You're all allowed to have your own thoughts on that. But remember, this is not tax cuts and enormous tax raises. It's just continuing on the same tax rates that we've had for the past 9 years if the bill passes. So since last week, markets have shifted a bit. The Fed is actually now hinting at a possible 20% chance of a July rate cut, where a week or two ago they had more of a steady stance on rates. PCE, or personal consumption expenditure, is a key economic indicator in the US that measures the total spending by households on goods and services. It includes items like food, housing, healthcare, transportation, and it reflects consumer behavior and economic activity. So the PCE is an index that we keep a close eye on, often used by the Federal Reserve to track inflation by monitoring changes in these prices. And it provides a better, more broad, less volatile measure than the CPI, which many of you are familiar with, which is the Consumer Price Index. That just measures a basket of goods and services of a typical U.S. household. So PCE is a critical tool for understanding economic trends and guiding monetary policy. So we keep a close eye on that. And PCE was up 0.1%. in the last reading. Not bad. Jobless claims are on the rise a little bit. First quarter GDP was down about 0.5%, most likely due to people trying to get ahead of the tariffs in the first quarter. Oil prices actually fell 10% to around $70 for Brent as the ceasefire in the Middle East is holding. Stocks led by the S&P are rallying. They're near highs around 44,500 on the S&P 500. So there's a lot going on, both positively and negatively. And remember, a good plan helps turn all of these changes into opportunities for you, not chaos or panic, which is what we want to try to avoid. So today, as we celebrate independence, we're tying all this financial data together for you for your ultimate goal, which is financial independence. Everyone likes to use the word retirement, but the reality today is that retirement isn't what it used to be. It still may be your goal, but for many people today, we like to talk more about financial independence. That's the point at which you can comfortably decide that you don't have to work anymore. At least not for financial reasons. You may want to work for social reasons, to get yourself out of the house, to stay busy, but financially independent is when you don't have to work for financial reasons. And I think that's ultimately everyone's goal, whether you're there now or you're working your way towards that point. Let's celebrate independence today. 4th of July is about freedom, fireworks, family, and independence. For you, financial independence is that personal liberation from money stress. Financial independence is your retirement's Independence Day. It's a new beginning, free from work's chains, or another day in the salt mines, like my dad used to say. Last week, we noted the Fed's rate hold and oil at $85 to $90 a barrel. Now with a potential rate cut in the horizon and lower oil prices, that shifts the landscape a little bit. Without a plan, you might overspend on that 4th of July barbecue or on summer travel, or underspend on your dreams. A plan is your declaration of freedom, setting a budget and goals amidst a lot of financial volatility and uncertainty. So we have a stock rally, we have bond yields dropping to about 4.27%, meaning that whether you're in stocks or bonds, you made money in the past week. Think back to just a few months ago when it seemed like the financial world was going to come to an end with all of the tariff scared talk on the news. How many of you were near panic state and wanted to get out of the market? Well, here we are just a few short months later, and we're at near all-time highs in the markets. This should serve as another reminder to take what you hear on the news with a grain of salt. Don't panic. Don't overreact. The markets go up generally 3 out of every 4 years. Dips of 20% happen regularly. And the markets and the American economy are tough and resilient. If and when you try to make adjustments based on the news or geopolitics, you will generally make a mistake. It's very difficult to try to time the markets based on the news. I've seen people try many times over the years only to fail. Remember what we say, it's time in the market that is the key, not timing the market. That's important. This is where having a good financial plan will help out. Map out your savings and expenses and your investments. Stress test with inflation. Balance risk. Balance your portfolio. Stocks are up now, but a dip could be right around the corner if things change. Just like we don't want you to panic at bad news, we don't want you to get overly exuberant when the news is positive. Your plan is that blueprint for independence. Remember, set a 3 to 4% withdrawal rate, ideally 3%, adjusting for market rallies or oil shifts. The weaker dollar might boost travel costs a bit, especially if you're planning on going overseas. But a plan will help you optimize your tax savings, help you time your distributions, and help you evaluate opportunities like Roth conversions. A good plan will also let you know if you need some active income, consulting, or a side gig. And remember, we're not talking only about your financial health, we're also talking about your physical health as well. One without the other is really not ideal. So get up off the couch, get up out of the chair, go to the gym, lift some weights, walk, garden. That'll also help keep you fit. I actually heard this morning a new scientific study that says sitting for long periods of time, like most of us are used to, is actually a lot worse for us than we originally believed. And a simple solution can totally reverse the downside effects of sitting and being stagnant. Listen to this. A simple 2-minute walk every 30 minutes can actually do wonders for your body and allow you to build more muscle in your entire body. Build more muscle, build more strength. Imagine that. So I'm now scheduling in a 2-minute walk every 30 minutes on my calendar. I think you should do the same. Once you have your physical health dialed in, a good plan will help bring your financial health or financial security into play, which cuts stress, which is linked to slower aging, letting you enjoy those fireworks, letting you enjoy your independence. If you have a plan, review your plan with these new developments, at least annually. If you don't have a plan, let me know. I'm here to help. Remember, health fuels freedom. A good plan helps ensure that you can afford that trainer or that special family vacation. Share your 4th of July financial goals with me at leonardifamilywealthcare.com. Let me know what you have planned for the 4th of July or for a summer trip or celebration idea. We have some celebrating to do ourselves in the family in the next couple of weeks, and I'm in the process of planning a surprise. So I can't really share with you right now what it is. I don't want to ruin the surprise for anyone. But tune in again for the next few podcasts over the next couple of weeks, and I'll let you know what that surprise was and how it turned out. So to summarize, let's declare independence with a good plan. Use the online tools that are available to you, or contact me at leonardifamilywealthcare.com for help in building your plan, adjusting for inflation, for market trends, and longevity. This 4th of July, let your plan spark a vibrant retirement. So financial independence is your 4th of July triumph if you have a good plan. Visit me at leonardifamilywealthcare.com. You can download our 2025 Retirement Reset Checklist and get yourself a probability of retirement success meter. Or grab my book, A Smarter Way to Retire, 10 Steps Towards a Confident Financial Future, for more detailed information. Thanks for listening. Enjoy your 4th of July. Don't forget to subscribe and review, and we'll see you next time on A Smarter Way to Retire. Take care.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Osaic Wealth, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Osaic Wealth is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Osaic Wealth. The opinions expressed herein are for general information only and is not necessarily the opinions of Osaic Wealth or its representatives. Investing is subject to risk, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. It is not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Please consult your financial professional, attorney, or tax advisor with regard to your individual situation.